I'm Lex.
And I'm Tay.
And this is our take on college. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are so excited for today's episode. This one's going to be a fun one. So today, I will like to preface first that our episode on it was Monday was a little bit deeper. We kind of talked about that in the episode, and today's is meant to be a lot more lighthearted, but also fun. We're going to be talking about IU things, not IU things, and our takes on them, as today's episode is hot takes. And before I finish the rest of the title, I also want to give a disclaimer that this is in no way discrediting the dominant and outstanding athletics that we have here at IU. I just want people to know that there is something for everyone, and it's okay. You don't always have to be a sports fan, and that's coming from someone who is a massive sports fan and is also getting a degree in sports. So just wanted to clear the air before everyone decided to go all crazy. And our official title of today's episode is Hot Takes. Not everything is about football and basketball at IU and more. So Tay, you can talk a little bit so I don't have to get roasted on everything before we get started.
No, and everything is meant to be lighthearted. It's not like we love going to IU sporting events. We truly do. It's not about that. We're not bashing anyone. We're not doing any of that. We're just trying to say that there's something for everyone if that's not your thing. So, not that we even really had to give a disclaimer because, the title could be a little controversial, but if you actually, are listening to this episode or watching, which obviously you are if you're listening to us talk and give that disclaimer, then you know that that's not meant to offend anyone. So
yeah, so that's kind of what the episode is today. I think it's going to be super fun, and I'm really excited to talk about these with you guys because, again, we've got some stuff about IU and we have some stuff that's not about IU, which is more in relation to pop culture. So to start off with, I think I am going to go first. And this is like, I'm reading the hot take and then Taylor and I are both obviously going to have like a conversation about it. So our first hot take is that the McNutt Dining Hall is overrated. And if you go to IU, that is the dining hall that is in the north part of campus. So that's where Taylor and I lived last year. And every like housing section of campus, we've got north, central, and south. We were in north, which was over by Greek Row, over by the different athletic facilities and the tailgate fields, as well as the Kelly School of Business. That is kind of the vicinity that neighborhood was in. And we actually lived in McNutt. We were on the floor 1 of Bokobo, which is one of the 6 building sections in that neighborhood. And so this is coming from someone that lives there. I think it's all about perspective, in my opinion, but Taylor and I were not always the most impressed with McNutt, because I feel like a lot of people that I knew that had gone to IU or were considering IU were like, oh, we need to live in the northwest like part of campus. We need to be in McNutt and all this stuff. And we get there, and I think a lot of the hype was around obviously the new dining hall, and that's again kind of what we're saying is overrated. But I feel like McNutt in general is overrated, not just the dining hall. It really was a glorified prison, and really dingy and dirty. And the dining hall was nice from the outside looking in. If you were to come and visit, you'd be like, oh, this is such a nice dining hall. But the further we got into it, it really was just very overrated. The different meal sections that they have a bunch of different like storefronts. Obviously, you're not really paying for it. We have meal swipes. But you would just go and swipe your card, and then you would walk in and pick out of all of the different things that they had there. And most of the time, the entire school year, not all of them were even open or an option. And it just it was, in our eyes, not the best place ever. And so we would choose to eat out or go to a different dining hall. And that's kind of my take on it for right now, is that it is extremely overrated. And that's why I think it's overrated. Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, so we loved the location of where we lived. Like that was never the issue. But everyone else also loved the location of where we lived.
It was one of the most frustrating things ever.
So people who had their own dining halls would flock to McNutt Dining Hall. So it'd always be overcrowded. If one of the food stations was open, because like Lexi said, sometimes they weren't, all the good stuff would be gone. And as people who lived there, we had to end up waiting until like almost right before it closed to go and eat, because all of these random people who didn't even live in our neighborhood just flock there, and they like stay there because once you swipe in, you eat whatever you want. So they're there for like 2-3 hours just taking up space, and there was never tables. It was never clean. Like, they really sell you on McNutt Dining Hall being the best dining hall because it was the newest. But from, like we said, people who live there, it really wasn't great. And I vividly remember the pizza debacle, one of the first nights we lived there.
Let me just say really quickly, too, I still have all of the pictures from this, so these will be put into the YouTube video. If you're going to watch that, I will have photographic evidence of the things that happened in this dining hall.
Yeah, so, like, they would make, like, a surplus of this pizza, and I think that that's what happened, and then it just, like, sat there, and then it got picked over, and, like, all this stuff, and by the time we got to eat, after waiting in the line to get said pizza, that line, if you've ever been in McNutt Dining Hall, was wrapped around back by the dish return. So if anyone knows that layout, it was all the way back there. We had no idea what this pizza was going to look like. We were so excited. We got up there, ice cold. The most foul and disgusting pizza I'd ever eaten in my life.
I also would just like to preface that Taylor obviously just worded all of that so eloquently. I am running on like absolutely no sleep. I am not feeling well today. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that when I speak, all of my words are coming out and making sense. But that's exactly what I wanted to say, perfectly to a T, everything you just said. Not to mention, like when you were saying, and I think you might have touched on it, it's the fact that people could stay for as long as they wanted, but it was also all you could eat. So people would be coming from all over campus, even though they didn't live there, which you have every right to do that. But it was like so much 24/7 that we literally would like come to the dining hall at a normal time for people to eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and there would be no food, or they ran out, or they would make too much of something, and then by the time it got to everyone, it was cold, not so much edible. Like, it was their first year of rolling out the dining, like, meal swipes, all-you-can-eat program, but it was really bad. Like, overall, the management of it, I am not going to hate on like the IU RPS dining management because I do technically work for them. But that situation at McNutt, and we can't vouch for the different dining halls. We rarely ever went to Wright or Forest. My favorite was Goodbody, which we'll get into later. But we really would just end up going to like the IMU and, you know, using our dining dollars or our meal exchange swipes, and then literally, you know, we'd have to come home to McNutt, which closed extremely early for college students. You know, you're up at like 3 a.m. doing homework or doing whatever, and the dining hall closed at like 9. And some nights it would even close sooner because they ran out of food. So it was one of those things, like Taylor had said, that, you know, you never knew what you were going to get. And most of the time it wasn't something that you wanted or really could eat, and then they would just not have food sometimes. So I'm gonna give it back to Tay, but that was one thing that really, really, really bothered me.
Yeah, so leading into hot take number 2 is dining hall food is not universally bad. So even though we just sat here and kind of complained about how dining hall food was bad, like Lexi said, Good Body, personally, favorite dining hall. It was my favorite. Had the best food. I loved the takeout containers because you could take it and you could leave. Like, if you didn't want to sit there, you could leave. And then, like Lexi also said, with the IMU and being able to use our meal exchanges there, like, that food was good. We loved that salad bar. I would die on that hill that salad bar is arguably the best food, like, on campus. I'm not saying in Bloomington, but on campus, that salad bar, to me, was the best food.
I agree with that statement. Taylor and I literally, like, as I was saying, our meal plans were different. I had a larger meal plan than Taylor, which, in all honesty, I didn't need it. It was a waste of money because of the all-you-could-eat meal swipes. The only thing that sucks about it, obviously, is that you can only use those meal swipes at the all-you-could-eat dining halls, or I think Good Body is considered an all-you-can-eat dining hall now, or the meal swipes. You could use those at the IMU or your dining dollars. I used all my dining dollars at Starbucks, which was, I do not advise that. I know a lot of people do that. A lot of girls do that. But that was not beneficial by any means. And literally, I wasted so much money on Starbucks, and then I was left with no money to go and use that towards food at, like, the IMU, which their burgers are really good there. They're different, ethnic options are always really good. They'd bring Dat's Cajun in, which was so good. And then I can't remember the one by the salad bar for some reason. It is the sushi place, but I was trying to see if Taylor knew the name, but I don't remember.
Lantern something?
Yes, Lantern. That's what it was. Lantern. They had sushi, like orange chicken, and then the salad bar, hands down, was always the best. Like, the burgers are honestly second best, I will say. And the pizza was fine. The pizza was okay. Better than the dining hall pizza, 110%, but it's pizza. But Goodfellas basically makes the same pizza, but it's better. And that's a pizza place here in Bloomington. But yeah, no, it was the IMU by far, and that's still technically a dining option on campus. So not all dining options are overrated or that bad. And Good Body, it's the same food, but for some reason, Good Body just did it better. Like, it was edible. It was all, like, they always had food, even though a lot of people, Good Body is smaller, but a lot of people would go to Good Body. It's kind of not central campus. It's closer to 3rd Street, which is, like, the south side of, like, campus. But it's a nice hub that, like, people would be able to go. And like Taylor said, you could get food and take it and leave, where you could not do that anywhere else. So, like, they wouldn't give you to-go containers. So, yeah, not all the dining hall food is universally bad. It's really just, you have to kind of look and find the small places and small things that make paying for a meal plan worth it.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, with my meal plan, it worked out perfectly for me, I think. One thing for the people with meal plans, definitely try to plan when you're going to use those meal exchanges, like, throughout the week and, like, throughout your day. I remember I would always have a class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday that would end right before lunch. So I would always be like, hey, I'm still on campus. Like, I have a class later. I'm not going to walk back to McNutt and try to eat when everybody and their brother is in there trying to eat. So I'm just going to run to the IMU, use my meal exchange, eat there, and then just go to my class. And it saves so much time. And I think just using those meal exchanges and kind of planning it out, and it helps keep structure with your week and things like that too. So it's my take on the meal swipes in IMU and Good Body.
Yeah, so I'm going to move on to hot take 3. So this is, again, kind of still doing, obviously, with school and where we are. I'm so sorry. I'm getting a call right now from my dad. Sorry, Dad. I had to decline. But hot take 3. So as much as we all love chains, we love to shop and support local. There are so many good places here on campus and in Bloomington that not only are great like dining establishments, but there are stores. There are some really cute and fun places here that you can shop and support local that have to do with like game day or just clothing in general. And again, the dining options really are a big one. I think that's kind of really why we put the hot take in there, is because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go to Cane's or I want to go to McDonald's, Taco Bell, like all of these like chain fast food places instead of, going to Siam House. That's my favorite place, probably out of all of the options here on campus. Siam House is so good. But there's a whole street of ethnic food that is just absolutely amazing. And then, you have Da Vinci, which is an Italian place. I'm pretty sure that's not a chain, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty positive that one's not. And there's just so many other options, like Pizza X and like Mother Bears, I guess are chains, but I believe they were started here. So like it's a chain within Bloomington, because I have never heard of a Pizza X literally elsewhere or a Mother Bears outside of Bloomington. Like all of their locations are within Bloomington. So, like those are great pizza places. I personally like Pizza X over Mother Bears, but that's just me. And like I said, Siam House, but also again, like touching on like we go to Greetings a lot, which is a little place here in Bloomington, or a bunch of different game day shops. And then the Village Deli is still not still, but they are really good. And there are some other places on Indiana Ave, like Buffalo Louie's. Definitely got to throw that in there. Buffalo Louie's is so good. But I know a lot of people are like comfortable, I guess, with being like, oh yeah, like, and Starbucks, that's a big one. I should mention that. I work at a Starbucks here on campus, but I would 110% support like Inkwell or Soma. Those are my favorite places to get coffee here in Bloomington. So I would rather go there than honestly get a free drink at Starbucks, because I do on campus. So that's kind of like my perspective. Again, chains are great, but shopping and supporting local does so much more for the community.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of your Starbucks Inkwell comment, Inkwell over Starbucks any day. You can't change my mind. You can't. It's also like a vibe there too. It's just different. Like if you go to the IMU Starbucks, like there's so many people in there, and you could sit there and try to study, or you could sit there and try to have a conversation. You can't hear yourself think in there. But like me and Lexi have gone to Inkwell for like a brunch kind of vibe before, and we can actually sit there and have a conversation, and nobody's like running around and like just like screaming and being so loud and obnoxious in there. And then the other I had another food place I was going to talk about, but I'm totally spacing right now.
I'm trying to think. I don't know of. Okay, you got it. All right.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so the other thing I was going to say about like restaurants and food and stuff, outside of like your dining dollars, things like that, your meal exchanges, we really don't, I would say most of us don't have just like a lot of exposable income. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna do something and like go to a restaurant, like I want it to be Buffalo Louie's on trivia night, where I can have a good meal and have fun with my friends. Like, yeah, going to McDonald's drive-thru and stuff like that can be fun too. But I think just like the quality of time and being at like Buffalo Louie's, like on Thursdays, like that was our thing last year for a really long time. And like that was where we'd be like, okay, we're going to go out to eat this night. We're going to spend money like this night on food and not make ourselves go to the dining hall. So it's like something to look forward to. So like maybe find like a little thing like that with your friends, like find a restaurant that you guys like and like make a plan to go there, not necessarily weekly, maybe bi-weekly, maybe once a month, but just make something like that with your friends and memories like that, and it's something you can look forward to. Because, like, if I had a hard week, like, I'd be so hype and so excited to go to Buffalo's and just sit there and do trivia, and it was just a different vibe completely. So that's my take.
It definitely was a different era of our time. The sad thing now is that I actually work on trivia night at the Starbucks that I work at. And so unfortunately, I don't get off until 8, and I'm pretty sure trivia ends at 9, which we could still go. We could just go and eat and not play trivia. But it is, like Taylor said, one of those things, which, by the way, guys, now that we've talked about it, I am, in fact, going to force Taylor to go to Buffalo's with me this weekend. So, and she looks happy about it, so. But it was one of those things that it really was something that we looked forward to and really enjoyed as part of our week, and, you know, being together and having a meal. And not only us, but I would bring my boyfriend, or I have friends from home they're the ones that actually introduced us to that. So definitely, you know, like Taylor said, take the time to plan something out because, you know, obviously you're paying for a meal plan, but, you know, you can have fun with, you know, going out every once in a while, and it doesn't have to be in a, you know, bad way, so to say. But yeah, we're going to hand it on over back to Taylor for Hot Take 4, and this is kind of where things are going to get interesting.
Yeah, so we're kind of switching gears. We're steering away from IU directly related stuff. But so this is kind of more pop culture-y, just like universal, like hot take kind of things. So hot take number 4 is nobody truly likes avocado. Like, I can't sit here and be like, I've never had guac. I've never had avocado toast. Yes, I've had that, but there's always something else with avocado. Like, it's not like an apple. Like, you're not gonna just bite into an avocado. Like, I don't think I've seen anybody truly sit there and slice avocado and eat it themselves.
Yeah, no, so it's so funny that Taylor says that because literally, I agree. I don't think I've ever seen someone just cut up an avocado and eat it. You always have something with it, whether it's like salt and pepper, lemon, you throw it on something, you mix it into a salad. And I'm not saying that avocado is bad because we both love it and we both eat it, but we are always eating it with something else. So you can disagree with us, you can agree with us, we hope you do, because it's so funny, but it was a mental, like, what? Because when Taylor brought that one up, I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. When was the last time I saw someone eat an avocado or avocado by itself? Literally never. So, yeah, that one was definitely interesting.
No, and like you said, it was like your mind was completely blown because you're sitting there like, do I even like avocado? Because, like, you never eat it without something else. You always have to add something to make it better. So that's why we were sitting there and we were like, wait, like, do we like avocado? Like, is that a thing? Like, I don't know, but I personally don't think anybody actually likes it. And if you just sit there and you'll take a bite out of an avocado, tell us about it in the comments. Disagree with us. I really don't care, but I'm sticking to it that nobody actually likes avocado, like, by itself.
Facts. I agree. So, I have the next one, and this one is something that I, like, completely wholeheartedly agree with. Because if you know me, I am a jeans and sweater kind of gal. Today, if you're watching on YouTube, it doesn't look like it, and that's only because I've mentioned before that I'm in a metal smithing and jewelry design class, and with that, we can't wear tight clothing because we're around drills and saws and different equipment that could pull us into something if we're not wearing tight clothing, essentially. So I have a sweatshirt on because the studio is cold, but I'm in a, like, onesie type situation, like a body suit that's got like biker short bottoms on it. But not the point, because the hot take is dressing up for class is not overrated. And a lot of people will be like, oh, when you're in college, like you just wear like, you know, athletic things, or you wear, you know, just like grungy, grout, like outfits to like class, like you're in sweats and stuff. And I love a good sweat set, but like I also accessorize to the high heavens. So like I've got like my hair done really nice, and I've got my jewelry on, and I've got my nice tennis shoes, and my hair's done, and my makeup's done, and I look put together even though I might not be. And I guess that's not dressing up, but like I would literally throw a dress on, or I would wear nice shorts and a top, or I'd wear jeans and a sweater to class, because I think it's fun. That's who I am. I think it's great, and I don't think it's overrated. And if you do, and that's fine, but I simply disagree with you. Taylor, how do you feel?
It all comes down to just like how you feel for me. Like if I'm wearing a nice outfit, I feel put together. I feel like I can sit there in that lecture hall and I can take my notes, and my notes are going to look really cute. And like it's just a confidence about going into these places and going into class that I feel like, cuz I'll admit it, I went through a slump last year where I was just like throwing on my sweats and my sweatshirt and my Uggs. Nothing wrong with the Ugg slippers. Love them. Bury me in them. But anyway, but I went through that slump, and I feel like wearing not necessarily nicer clothes, quote unquote, but just being a little more put together makes you feel better, and it gives you confidence. Like I'd pull up to class when I wasn't feeling the best in my sweatpants, never in pajama pants though. That was my one rule. Never pajama pants, because then you just like look like you don't take anything seriously. And I feel like when you walked up to professors and things like that, and you were like wearing like pajama pants and stuff, they really weren't taking you like as seriously. And I also feel like in pajama pants and sweats like that, you get too comfortable. You get too comfortable and you start like dozing off. You quit paying attention, and then you just quit getting anything out of it. So I feel like it goes back to that whole dress for success, or like dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I'm not necessarily saying wear a suit to every class, but like just dressing up nicer and things like that would just give you so much more confidence. And I think that that is why dressing up for class is not overrated.
Again, I agree with you. Like it was one of those things where I would get complimented too when I would wear nice things. And again, Taylor went through a slump. I went through a slump. We all do, where I would just throw on something that was comfortable. But I noticed that I wasn't taking things as seriously, or I may have not been doing as well. My notes weren't as good. And again, it was one of those things where it kind of looked like I didn't really give a crap about going to class. And so my professor really didn't give a crap if I had to, you know, say something, because they're like, you know, it's been kind of a trend lately that you haven't really cared. And again, it's not a bad thing, as I feel like where we go to school, it's very trendy to like dress up kind of like a sweat outfit, which I do. And I kind of think that that's dressing up a little bit. But, you know, it is about, you know, when you feel confident in what you're wearing, confident in yourself, it really shows. And I think that that's just kind of what we're saying is hot take, confidence is hot. And that's not really a hot take, because it's fucking facts. But anyways, this next one's kind of fun. Yeah, I'm going to just let Tay introduce this.
So, fun fact, I think me and Lexi actually differ on this. But, so, hot take, and this is coming from me. Well, the hot take is Microsoft versus Google, but my version of this hot take is Microsoft over Google. I don't know what it is, but I hate Google Slides, like with a passion. I can't tell you what it is, but I just hate it. And when professors put the only way to submit your assignment as like a Google Doc, it makes me so irrationally angry that then I, as a Microsoft user, have to go in and save my paper or my assignment under a completely different thing, because our school doesn't have a universal like Microsoft or Google. Because, like, I know in high school, we were a Google, like, high school. Like, everything we submitted was through, like, Google Classroom, through Google. So even though I was more well-versed in Google, hypothetically, I still hated it. But now it just annoys me because I think we should, as, like, a university, pick one. And my vote is Microsoft.
I don't think that I have a personal, well, I couldn't say I don't have a personal preference because I do use Microsoft for everything. But we do differ in the fact that I love Google Slides. I don't know why I like it. I do not like PowerPoint by Microsoft. But again, it is a personal preference and, like, you know, choice. I think in high school we just used Microsoft. It was always Microsoft. It was Office 365, which I'm pretty sure is literally what we use here at the university. But I would use Google for personal things or, you know, like a presentation we could use, whatever. So Google Slides, but I agree with Taylor. I absolutely hate, it's the same thing with, like, we could add this in, I guess, Canvas emails versus Outlook emails. I personally would prefer Canvas with, you know, your professors because that's where your classes are and where your classmates are. And then Outlook for, and literally anything else, like university wise or you know, class updates can still go there. That's fine. But communicating with your professors should, in my opinion, be through Canvas. And it is so frustrating. It's literally pick one. But if I did have to pick a side on this debate, it would definitely be Microsoft. So I agree with you on that. This next one, this one's a fun one for all our ladies out there and gentlemen too. Our hot take number 7 is we were on a break in all caps. And in parentheses, we normalize this shit. Girls think that it's acceptable. And basically what we're going to be talking about is, I'm not sure, we've talked about this, but I don't know if Taylor has personal experience with this. I do. Bless my boyfriend now. That is not the case. Ethan, you're amazing. I love you so very much. And he, you know, amazes me every day. I love him very, very much. But in past relationships, yes, there was definitely a time where I had dated someone and we were on a break and it was supposed to be, which, by the way, I love communication and I'm going to tell you straight up to your face. It can be really hard. I don't like confrontation, but when it needs be, I will definitely have the conversation with you because I don't like to let things fester and dwell because it's not productive and it hurts our relationship in the long run, where I would rather just have the conversation with you. And so basically I expressed, this is for growth. This is for us to be able to grow on our own, but not apart. And apparently they didn't understand that. So they, you know, decided to get with someone else. And obviously I ended things and, you know, it was no longer discussed. But it is one of those things where, oh, we were on a break, so it was like, fine. No, even when you're on a break, you should be setting, well, again, I'm not going to tell you you should be doing anything because that is your prerogative and this is mine. But it is my belief that you should set boundaries with that because I don't think many people go on a break with the intention of not getting back together. I think a break is more so that you have time, that you both know that you still love each other and you are prioritizing the relationship. It's just that you are going to take a step apart from one another, but not 20 steps apart that you can let someone else come in. So that is my take on it. And we can get Tay's opinion.
Okay, so, I mean, Lexi did say I don't have, you know, the experience on this part. I've only ever been broken up with. But what I do know about this is I'm an avid watcher of Friends. And this is where this comes from. Ross screaming, we were on a break, after him and Rachel take a break, and he hangs out with someone else. I'll just say it like that, hangs out with someone else. So it becomes normalized because we're sitting there like, oh, it's Ross. We can't hate on Ross. Like Ross and Rachel, they're meant to be together. Like they're going to get back together. It's all fine. Rachel's going to forgive him. But we're sitting there thinking like, oh, it's okay. She's going to forgive him because it's Ross and Rachel. We're not sitting there looking at Rachel and how upset Rachel is. We're just like, oh, it's okay that Ross and Rachel, they're going to get back together. And I think that that's why it's just so normalized because, like, we see that and we're like, oh, they're perfect. They're perfect together. It doesn't matter. They were on the break. They were on a break. He wasn't cheating. It's fine. It's Ross. And, I mean, that's my take on it, personally. If you watched Friends, not really hot take, but Ross cheated. Sorry. To me, that's cheating. But, I mean, you can form your own opinion from that. But, yeah, so that was hot take number 7. So I'm going to move on to hot take number 8. So for those of you who, live under a rock and haven't been on TikTok, haven't seen The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon Prime, or read the books, you may not know who Belly is, okay? So this girl, her name's Isabel. There are so many cute nicknames you can go with for Isabel. And, I mean, the backstory is it's based off of, like, a lemon jelly belly. Like, that was her favorite, like, candy, things like that when she was, like, growing up. But why not something cute like Bean? Like, Belly? It's a little girl. Like, I don't like it, personally. But, I mean, that's just my take on it. What do you think on that one, Lexi?
Okay, so one, I'd like to preface with that I actually have not seen the entire series, nor have I read the books. And as many things in my life, unfortunately, they get ruined by other people because I have a really short span of being like, okay, I can only listen about someone talk about this so much. A good example of this is Peaky Blinders. I F with Peaky Blinders so hard. And that was because people talked about it. I saw it on TikTok. I watched it. Haven't finished the show yet, but I absolutely love it. Cillian Murphy. Fine man right there. Anyways, but one of the ones that I was like not into at all was one, Olivia Rodrigo. I have nothing against her as a person, but that is something in pop culture that was ruined for me by people just being extremely obsessive over it. Moana. I'm a huge Disney fan. I have to this day never seen Moana, and I refuse to because people used to play the soundtrack 24/7. And I actually boycotted Hamilton for 3 years before I actually watched it and listened to the entire soundtrack. And I regret that because it's really good and I like it. And I think I'll probably regret that with Moana, but it just was so repetitive. And The Summer I Turned Pretty is everywhere. I tried watching the first episode and got the ick. I would love to read the books. I think that I would love the books because I'm a huge bookworm. But the show has been really hard for me to get into. However, I absolutely detest the fact that she's called Belly. Why would anyone be okay with that nickname? Like, I get it. It was in the book and it was, it's going to obviously be part of the show. But come on. Isn't it Jenny Han? Yeah, Jenny. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? That is just... If someone called me Belly, I'd slap them across the face because I'd be like, excuse me, no, no one talks about my love pouch like that, okay? Like, what the heck? And like, why not Bean or Jelly Bean? Like, I know, obviously, I think, hold on, Taylor, what nickname was the one that I said, but she actually is called?
Wasn't it? Oh, it's Bells. Jeremiah calls her Bells. So that's the one that you said you liked. So I'm going to ask you another question as someone who, hasn't watched it all. Are you Team Conrad or are you Team Jeremiah?
I was waiting for you to ask this. Okay. So from an outside perspective, we all know that Conrad is supposed to be the bad boy that has like a lot of bad, traits about him. He's like mysterious and he's, oh, I'm so moody, like whatever. And Jeremiah is like the golden boy and he's like, oh my gosh, like he's just like the perfect little thing. Um, I would say that my current boyfriend is a mix of both, but as a younger kid, I would have absolutely been in love with Conrad. And so I'm going to pick Conrad. And people can say that that's toxic or whatever. But as far as I know, it's actually the non toxic choice. And so, yeah, I'm a team Conrad girl, Connie baby all the way. Jeremiah just gives me the ick.
Yeah, so I mean, not from personal experience. I don't want to say personal experience, but just for me personally, Conrad was always the choice. And then some people say like Jeremiah for me, but not for Belly. I get that to a certain extent. Like I get that, but like also very much a Conrad girly. And I think if you know me, you know specific things about why I like that personality in a person. But yeah, Team Conrad.
So we're gonna move on to the next one. And that is no style has originality anymore. Everything is a dupe of everything. I think that that's a really valid statement because I honestly, and I'm not saying that you can't have originality or style. I want to preface that first. But I just feel like nowadays, and Taylor is kind of the one that came up with it, but I completely agree, is that there's really not a lot of originality. I think obviously people will like reuse something from like, you know, old trends come back in style, which is totally fine. I don't have anything against that. I just think that I haven't seen an original like style in quite some time, and I need to get more into high fashion because I feel like that's where a lot of like big ideas come from, and then they kind of not get diluted, but they become more obtainable for everyday senses. Like there are people that would rock high fashion and have the absolute confidence to rock it. I don't, but I would love to see a high fashion idea that's brand new kind of get into the mix of what we do now. I just feel like it's kind of the same like clean girl aesthetic, or Autumn Christian Girly is coming back this fall, and stuff like that. Taylor was like my outfit. And I'm very much like clean girl today. I mean, I wouldn't say that I look the cleanest, but that's kind of, you know, whatever. But it's just one of those things where I love like fun aesthetics and I love following those on Pinterest, and I don't have an original style at all, and that's totally fine. It's just a point that we wanted to bring up because being on a college campus, you see so many people either, you know, on one end of the spectrum, everybody looks the same, or then me being in the fine arts building, which I'm not trying to stereotype anybody at all, but I just feel like those kids who are art majors are always so creative and so outgoing and confident in rocking like their outfits, and I wish that I would be able to find a style for me that I could do that and it be kind of like my style. And everything is a dupe of everything. I just feel like there are a lot of companies out there that are just duping what someone else has done, and then another person dupes it and another person dupes it, and it's, you know, a great thing for, you know, them, and, you know, having a more feasible option. You know, if you want to buy like, we could say, you know, like a Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, but you don't have the money to spend. We all know a certain drugstore brand that has duped it very, very well. And there are a multitude of options, whether, you know, the packaging is identical or, you know, just the concept of the piece is the same. But again, I don't want that to seem like it's a bad thing, but, you know, I just kind of wish that we would have some more originality nowadays. And I just haven't seen any in a while.
Yeah, I feel like we're not all like bots or like clones, right? But like it's about time that we're gonna see the short Uggs again. Everybody's gonna be wearing the short Uggs. That's just the thing. They're comfortable. Like everybody loves them. It's a universal thing. But it just makes you like as a person be like, well, I'm sitting here wearing everything that everyone else is wearing. But like that's okay. Because like that's kind of where we are right now. Like if you're not wearing that, you feel like uncool. Like, and it's not that you're not uncool at all. If you don't like them, don't wear them. Like personally, I like my Doc Marten boots better than my Uggs. They don't go with everything, so I'm not wearing them everywhere. But, like, you know what I'm, like, you just have to think maybe I do have a little more original style to me. Maybe I shouldn't wear this just because everyone else is wearing it. And if you really genuinely don't like it, like if you think the Boston clogs are ugly, personally I don't. Personally I have a pair. But if you think Boston clogs are ugly, don't waste your money and buy a pair just because everyone else has one. That's my take on that. So we're getting into hot take number 10, and this is our last one. And going back to our disclaimer before, this is the take that is about our disclaimer. So hot take number 10, you don't always have to be a sports fan. And what we mean by that is there is something here for everyone. Like, I know personally I'm in 3 different clubs that have nothing to do with sports, and I have just as much fun at chapter for Phi Alpha Delta that I do at some sporting events sometimes. So, I mean, there's something here for everyone. Go to the activity fair, find something that you love. Just because you don't want to go to like a football game or a basketball game and that's not your thing, then don't go. Find people that have like common interests that you do too, and just do that. Go with the flow. That's my take on that one.
I completely agree. Again, I'm a sports major and I love going to sporting events. Taylor and I like to go and tailgate. We go to the football games. I think this year is going to be a lot better. I think both of us being sick and like things that were going on, obviously, that we kind of touched on in the last episode with school kind of kept us from doing things. And we went into the UNC and IU basketball game, and then I kind of had an anxiety panic attack and needed to leave. So, we went, and it was one of those things where it's like, we love to go to sporting events. We went to men's soccer. You know, we have plans to go to many more events this year than we did last year. But I think a lot of people, obviously, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're such a basketball school and stuff like that, because I love our football team. We, you know, I'm hoping the season does very well. But I think a lot of people have the misconception of any, you know, bigger school, whether that's in the Big Ten, the SEC, that everything is always about sports. And that's a person, like that's an opinion someone has. That is not factual. There are so many things on campus for people to do, whether it's a club or joining a sorority or fraternity or a business frat, a, you know, pre-major fraternity. Like, there are just so many things on campus for people to do. You can get involved in like music. You know, there are bands that play here that have played like different events at the school. There are different like performance groups through the university that you can audition for, whether that's the dance team or it's a club version of that. There are so many things that you can do, and you can go out and hang out with your friends and, you know, go to Brown County, near Columbus. Like, there are just so many more things to college than sporting events. And I just think that it kind of is a misconception a lot of the time with school in general. And it doesn't just go for IU. I really think it's like collegiate, you know, the collegiate atmosphere everywhere is that people are always like sports. And it's like, no. Like, there are so many other things that you could be doing. Like, I'm an IUDM, and that's like a huge thing for me. You know, I meet twice a week because I'm a chair. So we have our chair and director meeting on Tuesdays, and then I have my committee meeting with the rest of the kids on Wednesdays. Day of Hope is coming up. We have the dance marathon coming up. And I spend a lot of my time with that, but I also spend a lot of my time with all the other things that I'm doing. And, you know, I'm involved in those things and I really enjoy that. And of course, it's fun to go to the football games and do stuff. But, you know, if you're not a sports fan, I promise you there is something there for you. And next week, we kind of just recently decided that we are going to postpone our special guest episode to episode 6. So episode 4 next week on recording on Monday, we're going to touch on dorm life. So we're going to kind of incorporate the end of this episode into the next one. And with that, I just wanted to say that it's really important to go to the club fair because you're going to meet people and take your, floor mates, whatever it may be if you're living in the dorm. But do that. Put yourself out there. Go and have fun. Go to sporting events. It is fun. If you've never been, definitely at least try to go once, but not everything is always about that. So I'm going to let Tay say a couple things and then we're going to wrap on up today.
Yeah, I think you said that very well. Like, at least try to go once. Because it's part of the experience, yes, but that's not the end all be all. Like, if people on your floor, say you're still living in the dorm, say you're a freshman, and you want to go to a call-out meeting for a club after the spring involvement fair, that's the same night as a basketball game, and they start asking around, like, hey, who's going to the game tonight? And you're like, oh, I want to, go to this call-out meeting for this club. Don't feel bad about that. College is about going out and trying, like, all these new things and, like, finding new interests. And then through that, you find out more about yourself. So personally, don't think you should ever feel bad about telling someone, like, hey, like, no, I'm going to do this. And if they don't respond how you want, or they do respond and they're like, oh, that's cool, like, which is how they should respond to that. They shouldn't, like, give you crap for not going. They shouldn't be like, oh my God, you're a loser. Like, no. They should be like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, I'll see you later. I'll catch up with you later. And everybody has different interests, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, I think.
I think that is a great way to end the episode. I completely agree. You're your own person and you should embody that. And, that's what the college is about. And so we're going to wrap it on up today. So I am Lex.
And I'm Tay.
And this has been our take on college.